Social media and dating apps, the way they're forcing us all to present this almost perfect version of
Yeah.
ourselves, right? So now everybody's having to live up to images that none of us are.
Did you push record?
Thanks so much for tuning back into Second Act TV. Happy that Dr. Gary Salyer's back with us for another segment talking love and relationships after 50. Gary, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you for having me again. Always love to.
Well, Gary is the author of Safe to Love Again, How to Release the Pain of Past Relationships and Create the Love You Deserve. And we just finished an interesting segment for our little go around here on narcissism. We will link to that. And related to that is a topic that I can so identify with, and that is so affecting our relationships, especially after 50, in my opinion anyway. And that is imposter syndrome. Let's talk about that. What is imposter syndrome and what do we need to know about it?
Imposter syndrome is this, it's been noted by psychologists since we finished it, that there's this interesting correlation between imposter syndrome and, you guessed it, narcissism, where we secretly are worried that that whole external image we're presenting doesn't really always stack up to what we've actually accomplished, who we actually are. And there's this shame of, well, maybe I'm not everything I'm supposed to be. If I'm fully human, I'm not going to be the fully actualized human being that Maslow and Tony Robbins and all the gurus say we have to be. And not only that, in the dating realm, once you get that general idea we're supposed to be the fully, actualized human being, notice what happens in dating apps. There's this, suddenly it's not good enough just to have a picture of you. Make sure that's been photoshopped. And then it was professional pics.
Which is the worst you can do.
Yes. Now, I'm not saying you get online with your pajamas, but a good picture is good. But I know of one client whose daughter was afraid to go out on Friday and Saturday with her friends because she had an app that made her lips look better and her skin, and then she couldn't measure up.
That's sad.
In reality. And then she got depressed because she doesn't look as good as what the app made her. And then there's the subtleties of when you're on an online dating site, and more characteristics of what people are doing to, kind of what I call dating bait, right? And now we start thinking, well, gosh, do I really have to have done Pilates? Oh, I better go do Pilates. Oh, I need to have read Dostoevsky. Oh my God, I need to have read Dostoevsky. And suddenly the list gets longer and longer and longer, and we start having to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Now, what's the very definition of a narcissist? When you can no longer handle your dark side, your weak side, your human side, and you have to present more and more perfection. It's a subtle trend that we have to be kind of grandiose about ourselves, and that's not vulnerability. So when we actually meet, we know that maybe I'm not everything that I have kind of been forced to say that I am. And we just can't say, yeah, I did Pilates twice in 1998.
That's a really, really interesting take on online dating, how that can actually cue or spark an imposter syndrome. I mean, imposter syndrome to me, the way I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's just that basic, you're not good, I'm not good enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not for my partner, he's going to leave me because I'm 10 pounds overweight or whatever, to where it's not really, you're making things up in your head that really aren't true. And by doing that, you're creating problems that don't exist. But what you're bringing out here too is that we're kind of led into that because we automatically are thrown into a comparison environment.
Well, on social media, there's that thing that we have to be perfect. Mm-hmm. I have known couples who have put out, we're having this beautiful actualized, thing. And I know that they're like 2 sessions away from being divorced, you know.
I know.
And in narciss, we know that the rates of a narcissism was pretty consistent to about 2005 or so. And now they started going up. Where happened around 2005? Social media.
Mm.
It is a constant pressure that we can't put our real vulnerable selves out there. And so now everybody's having to live up to images that none of us are. You know, I have my weaknesses. I can tell you now that there are times I can be a little selfish or self-centered, or I can just be a little arrogant, right? I know that about me. You know, I've got this thing going on for me. A wider part than I used to have. That's just the way it is. And it's the competition that's been put in that erases our basic humanity. Mm-hmm. That is eroding our ability to love each other as we truly are. The big wound that comes from this narcissistic wound is you can't be fully intimate. You can't be fully real. And if you can't be fully intimate and real with each other, love is going to be on a roller coaster at best.
Imposter syndrome. I mean, I would think somebody from imposter syndrome would really suffer under a narcissist, but are you saying that it also equates to being narcissistic?
No, I'm just saying that I think that there's a correlation.
Okay.
Right? It's a spectrum. And I'm saying that social media and dating apps, the way they're forcing us all to present this almost perfect version of ourselves, right? Because of the competition and whatever, it's sliding us ever so slowly this way. Now, I'm not now, a few times people will just gravitate that, but it's creating more of that little bit of a wound that says, I don't deserve to be loved. Mm-hmm. That I'm not good enough as I already am. It doesn't mean there's not things we can all work on, right? Or sometimes there may be some skills we need to learn, but it's increasingly causing what I'm calling an epidemic of unworthiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I measure up? Do I really have to be this and that? And you hear it in women, you hear it in men. And suddenly they start pulling back from dating because I'm never going to be enough. And we have enough of that as there is. And it's that I can't be loved as I fully am, that is really underneath what I call the dating imposter syndrome. Because which one of us are all that? I don't have 65 things I can list, to be honest with you. I guess I could, but what's the point? What if we could just be loved for being Silka and Gary and whatever, and whoever is listening? It's Mike or Joanna or whatever your name is.
Well, I mean, that question, does that have an answer? How, we're starting to come to the end. We have about 5 minutes. And I know you can solve the world's issues in 5 minutes. Here's what I'm being somewhat facetious, but that is the case. We don't think we're enough. At 50 or over 50 or over 60, you're starting to have such doubt in yourself anyway, and your self-confidence. I think men maybe feel it more in terms of what they're bringing to the table, that typical male self. What's the answer, or maybe not the answer, but what can you advise people how to handle that and not be consumed by that?
Let's face it, none of us are who we're at 25, right? Or in our 30s, right? I mean, the day, I was once asked to be on the Men of Cow calendar. That day is not coming around anytime soon again. But when you get past 50, there's life experience, there's wisdom. You have learned skills. Any day of the week, I'm better at relationships than the guy in his 20s and 30s. And if you know how to love and how to be loved, if you can come in with an open heart and you can love, that is way better than some of these trappings we had. We have our gifts that are different, and they are in many respects better. Just own up to that beautiful spirit inside of each of us that really deep down inside knows how to love. Because deep down inside, what I keep saying is all those lists do not predict lasting love. There's research. So the more you just do these compatibility lists, the more dissatisfied couples get, because they're saying, did you own up to all of my list? But when people concentrate on the quality of the marital friendship or the love or the feelings of welcomed and worthy and cherished and empowered, if you can give those, if you can truly love, that's what matters. That's what leads to lasting. What everybody is looking for isn't the compatibility list, it's feeling loved. If you can get that in your heart and your body, the imposter syndrome just starts going away, because any day of the week, you're better than the list. And you can make, the longer it is, the worse it is.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
shorter it is in your heart that you can give these feelings, you can truly love and be loved, that's when you are freed from imposter syndrome.
Yeah, yeah, and don't create stuff in your head that's not happening to where you drive somebody away. Gary, don't you as this relates to relationships, don't you have videos or something that might
Yeah,
help people with this?
yeah, it's called Dr. Gary's Guide to Lasting Love. You can go to my website, first page, GarySauger.com, or the short version is GarySauger.com /love guide, LOVEGUIDE. And then you can get to choose between 3 video clips. They're 3 to 4 minutes each. They'll inspire you. They give you specific skills. And there's for singles who aren't dating, singles who can't find the one and are dating, and for couples. So you can pick
Yeah.
the experience that's right for you.
Well, and it's all free. It's terrific, terrific resources like you always offer. And thank you so much for talking with us on this very important topic. I will have all those links in the show notes. I will also link to your book. And thank you again. We'll see you on our next segment of Second Act TV.
Thank you, Silke.
Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right over here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see the little bell right next to the subscribe button, hit that too, and we'll notify you every time we launch a new video. See you next time.